up, guys? I'm Weslee.
And I'm Bailey.
And this is Weslee Weighs In. And we are back at it, just me and Bailey on the podcast here. I'm kind of going to give a recap of the last few podcasts, what we've been up to, and what we're going to get into. So it's really cool to be at this point. What are we, episode?
This will be 4.
Episode 4, and we already have one queued up, number 5, ready to go. So I'm excited for that. That'll be really cool. But what's been up? So yesterday, Monday actually, you started teaching for the first time, right?
I did.
Bailey's kind of in a standstill with jobs right now. With the whole government shutdown thing, long story short, doesn't have a job right now. So her time during the day has been like super freed up. So this week you started teaching at jiu-jitsu, kind of at least helping out, right?
Yeah,
helping with the kids' classes.
I don't know what my official title is, but I'm some sort of assistant instructor, helper of sorts.
Assistant blue belt instructor on the mat, 2nd degree.
Yeah, for kids' classes only, although I still don't think that I'm qualified to even be doing that. The imposter syndrome is very real, but
yeah, you probably couldn't teach a mount escape really well, right?
Well, I sure was having trouble teaching it to kids yesterday. Looking at me like, I don't know, like I have tree branches growing out of my ears or something, the way they just stared at me. Granted, these are
generally how 5 to 7
the little, there's just the little baby ones.
Yeah.
They're so cute. So yeah, it'll come with time. I will say though, that on Monday, I was reminded that kids will humble you.
Tell you the truth.
Yeah, they really will. And we were just teaching a simple X choke from closed guard, and a couple of like the new kids were in a line taking turns doing it on me so they could get the mechanics down. And one little girl came and she set that X choke up, and I'm like, okay, well, like really slide those hands in, really like all the way back to where your tag would be. Like you want to go as deep as possible. That'll get you the deepest choke. And she said, but your neck is sweaty.
That's hilarious.
And it's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess it is.
Deal with it.
Sorry, but she also told me that I smelled good, so that was really nice. She asked me if I was wearing bubblegum scented perfume because I smelled like bubblegum. Well, I wasn't, but you take the good with the bad, I guess, when it comes to kids' honesty.
An offensive comment and a compliment all within the same sentence. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's nice. So what's it been like? Did you feel nervous when you first got on the mat? Like, you kind of looked a little... Not nervous, but unsure.
Well, I am unsure. I don't know what I should be doing. Like, I mean, it's just a matter of kind of getting the hang of what the structure of the class looks like. Like, where do I stand? What do I do? And knowing when to let them do their thing and when to, correct or give some sort of coaching, and then dealing with when you do give a correction or some sort of coaching and they just stare at you like, why are you even talking to me? It's all just new. So.
Those are the tough ones right there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, especially when it's like, the kid. Like some of them I'm like, I'm getting to know the kids. I'm like, because it's been interesting. You've been teaching for a long time. So like Weslee will come home talking about, what this kid did or how great this kid is doing, or, this kid was paired with that kid today. And I'm like, I don't know who any of these kids are. I don't know what you're talking about. So it is somewhat daunting, but I'm kind of excited to get to know them a little bit and be able to, I don't know, relate to you or talk to you about those kinds of things. But you are starting from scratch, getting to know all these little kids. So I'm having to ask everybody's name. But yeah, it's the ones where you do know them and then they just stare at you blankly. Maybe I'm just in a different capacity by actually being on the mat coaching them. So
I remember whenever I was first started, like the first week, like you said, where do you stand? Where do you go? Like what is common as far as what everybody does? And I would like stand in front of the kids as they're being taught, like
right in their way.
Yeah, go ahead, go behind them. Oh crap!
I can't see.
I need to go behind over here. I think I'll do better over here. Let me watch the technique. So
yeah,
but yeah, that's part of it. I think the more you do it, it just becomes really natural. You'll feel more comfortable. It's like getting in there and being confident and feeling comfortable. And the kids have to like, there's definitely a trust factor.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel that.
Yeah. There's even like some of the, like, there's some really good competitive kids that are younger and newer that in the beginning, they're already, their personality is so quiet.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get them to be more expressive because you want to feed into them as much as they can, especially the ones who are like really, really want to be fed into. Mm-hmm. And it just took time for them to kind of become comfortable with me, like where they didn't feel like, who is this random awkward man who's telling me to pass the guard, kind of aggressively.
Well, and like I said, I mean, I think it's interesting too that some of these kids I know because they are competitors. And so, we see them at tournaments all the time and we know their parents and whatever. But it's a different environment for me to be on the mat, like coaching, even at tournaments. Like I've stepped in to coach pretty much just our kids before if I really had to. I'm like the last person who will volunteer to do that, mostly because, again, I just don't feel like my imposter syndrome is too. I'm like, if there's anybody else who can coach that kid, that's a better bet than me coaching that kid. And so
too harsh on yourself.
I stay away from it. So yeah, I think some of these kids know me from, seeing me there and, hanging out with our kids or, us asking how they're doing or saying great job and giving them a high five. But for me to be on the mat telling them to do something, it's like, this is weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just a comfort and trust level. But yeah, it's been fun. And honestly, like maybe it's not the best thing to say. I don't know. But I feel like it's just more and more of stuff being like fed into my brain, even like basic jujitsu stuff,
Yeah, 100%.
You're just hearing it over and over and over and over again. And also hearing the way that Tracy breaks it down for the kids and really eats that's part of it too, is learning how to teach it the way that she teaches it. So it's all the same language. But yeah, there's so many things that I'm just sitting there listening as she's teaching. And even if I know it, you're just continuing to like absorb it.
Yeah, big
constantly.
time. I remember we were teaching the advanced kids, the last class, we were going over omoplata like a long time ago. And I never at that point, I did not like omoplatas.
Yeah.
I would not hit omoplatas. I didn't think they didn't work.
Omoplatas.
Well, they're great now. I know how to, I like do them. I find the openings for them, but, and use them and love them. Yeah. But at the time I was like, I'm not going to hit this. You have those moments when techniques are taught to you, you learn them. And for whatever reason, they're just you're not going to accept them yet. And so, but whenever she started teaching the kids, I was like, not just from watching her teach the kids and me helping, I started finding it in roles, even though we weren't going it over in the adults class at all. And that kind of started me hitting them more and being more accepting of them. Now I'm a burrata, Tarika, Oma, Plata, everything.
Yes. Lots of burrito platters, turkey platters.
That's right.
That's what I like to call them.
And I don't know what we can make for the Oma Plata.
I know. Oma Plata doesn't really have a clear, fake made up name that I can go with on that. If anybody has any suggestions, I am down to hear them.
I had imposter syndrome too, but in a different regard when helping. Tracy's, I've been blessed enough, thankful enough, and she's treated me well and letting me teach some of the classes where I come up with we do eco drills, and I'll kind of go into what that means in a second, but where I come up with these games that help build or pull certain skills out of the kids, and I come up with them, and she's let me run a couple of the classes before, several times, many times now, and that was really weird at first. I was like, and I'm a blue belt, so I'm like, I feel like purple is when you kind of start to be
that's
more
the
accepting.
Marker of an instructor.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's the accepted belt where you can teach people without them looking at you sideways.
So I had that feeling about myself for a while, real imposter syndrome about it. But being a competitor, being successful in competing at blue, at least the highest level that I can afford, traveling and whatnot.
No kidding.
I'm confident now, and I do study. I don't just show up to class and only think about jiu-jitsu when I'm at jiu-jitsu. I'm thinking about it 24/7.
All the time.
Yeah. So I feel now confident, and what I'm teaching, and I only tend to teach things I'm really good at and practice and train
Yeah.
a lot. But yeah, I had that same thing in the beginning. But to kind of touch on like the CLA, or the constraints-led approach, is what that means, CLA, or we also call it ecological training, whatever you prefer. But for those of you who are like listening and don't have a clue what that is in jiu-jitsu, essentially you create rules, or you constraint the student, attacker and defender, with certain things that when you constrain them, it forces them to use particular skills or build particular skills that they're not using in their regular roles. And it's different than situational. It's different than like start in side control and just hold the person down, or start on the back and escape the back. It's different. There's rules like you can only submit after you climb your legs up past the shoulders and trap an arm. And then maybe you give the defending player a specific grip and say you can only do X, Y, or Z to really hone in on a specific skill that maybe the student is lacking. There's all kinds of different games that you can do, and I like to think of them as games that really hone in on the gray area skills, like pinning, controlling, keeping people's hands to the mat when you're trying to get a takedown, like that constant off balance, keeping your knee next to their knee, like that J point line, that knee to knee connection as you're passing. Like that's a skill that you like kind of only get when you just train a lot, if you don't like constrain the situation and make that part of the training. So that's what that is. It's kind of like a little behind the scenes of what the next podcast is about. We go really deep on CLA and what CLA in jiu-jitsu really looks like. So
we have some awesome guests who are very well versed and very qualified to talk on the subject. So
George and Diego over at Vasquez Jiu-Jitsu. So look forward to that. It's really, really good. But so you had another big milestone this past week, right? What was that? What was that milestone? Pretty big one.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I've been really trying to drop weight ever since I started jiu-jitsu. Really actively this year trying to get down a couple of weight classes. And yeah, I think this week I hit 50 pounds that I've lost.
That's pretty awesome.
Since starting
Congratulations.
jiu-jitsu.
Round of applause. This is whenever the background noise of cheering goes. Yeah.
I'll have to add that.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, 50 pounds, that's incredible. So all you people out there trying to lose weight, get into jiu-jitsu.
It works.
Yeah. So
if you push yourself and make it work. Yeah.
So what did you do, like, couple with, did you just train and eat whatever you want, or did you kind of keep to a strict diet?
I haven't been able to eat whatever I want for a very long time. So yeah, just watching what I eat and training consistently. But yeah, I think for a long time, because it took probably over a year, and I had lost like 25 pounds, something like that. And that was mostly just training. Like right out the gate, it was just training. Then everything kind of slowed down, and then I would like slowly drop, but I was not the most consistent. So I'd either be pretty good during the week, but maybe go a little overboard on the weekend. And so then it's like every week you're just undoing the damage you did over the weekend, and you end up back in the same place at the beginning of, or the end of every week. You're kind of in the same place you were at the beginning or end of last week. So yeah, it slowed down for a while. And when I left my job earlier this year, I remember telling you that I was going to focus, and I said, now is the time. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to be serious about it. We're going to get her done. And so, yeah, I'm down, 2 weight classes. I'm signed up to fight in a couple of weeks. As of yesterday, I haven't even told you this, there's somebody in my bracket, in my division now. So I might actually get to, I know, I might actually get to fight on whatever date that is. So yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, that is awesome. Congrats on that. I remember whenever I started boxing, for me, this was really high. I was 176 pounds when I started boxing.
Yeah.
And eventually, after lots of training, got down and fought in the 140, 138 division. And I've kind of maintained that ever since, for the most part. I haven't seen the 150s in forever, years. But it's super relieving when you get down to that goal. And then it's, in my opinion, I think it's hard to maintain, but it's not at the same time. Like, keep that level of discipline that you had getting there, and know when to pull back, know when to get serious. Like, you can fall out a step really easy, but I think personally it's easier to maintain than it is to cut all that weight.
Oh,
It takes so much longer. It takes so long to get down to that weight.
100%. And when you're already in it, like you're kind of creating habits. It's really hard to like break all the bad habits and start all the good habits all at once. If you can just not get all the way to the point of having all the bad habits, then it makes it a lot easier for sure.
What were your energy levels like on the mat? Were
Garbage.
they all the way through all the time?
For the most part. I mean, I literally just like maybe last week, I think I told you that I'm like, ugh, my energy is finally better. That's one thing that always sucks. As soon as you start cutting for anything, I don't know if you have that problem, and Weslee's been having to cut for various reasons for a lot longer than I have. And I don't really do a lot of cutting for a fight. I kind of prefer to just fight wherever I'm sitting. Like, I don't, because of energy levels and things like that, you just feel like crap. And so,
let's not exaggerate. I'm not out here cutting 20 pounds or 15 pounds.
Yeah, that's true.
My cut is a little different than everybody else's, but I do cut.
Jiu-jitsu doesn't really lend itself to that, and boxing, amateur boxing, doesn't really lend itself to crazy cuts like that either until you go pro and you can like weigh in the day before, and then you have like a full 24 hours to kind of like reload and get back to a comfortable place. Jiu-jitsu and boxing both, now you pretty much weigh in at least the morning of, if not the second before you step on the mat.
To weigh in the morning before is still like a lot of time to rehydrate and get your weight back up. But the one like IBJJF, you have to weigh in and then fight
right on the mat. Yeah, no fun. So yeah, I prefer to not do a lot of. I feel like if I'm going to fight at a lower weight class, I want to be low enough. Now it's not the weight class I just got down to, but the one above that I fought at IBJJF in Oklahoma. I remember I had gotten down low enough that it was your birthday that weekend. And so we went to a fancy dinner the night before. And I told you the next morning how it was so nice that we could go to dinner and I could actually eat like normal, whatever, and not have to worry about whether or not I was going to make weight. Cause I knew I was far enough down that I could eat
really nice.
And fuel myself like a normal person. And that is really nice. That's where I want to be. I don't want to have to cut to make weight for a fight. It's just no fun. I feel like it's not worth the sacrifice in energy levels. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you are a lot more used to doing that with boxing.
I have a system down. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've gotten only better at it and able to get lower and feel great. And I don't do a lot of people hear me say cut, and they think that I'm a lot of guys cut and they will go for 15 pounds. They'll cut 15 pounds. I'm not saying in a day.
Yeah.
But they'll have a 2-week period where they're trying to get down literally 15 pounds. And to me, that's crazy. I don't do that. Mm-hmm. I just, with my body fat percentage, when it's just a disciplined cut, I'll say. It's not hard. I'm not killing myself. I just got to be disciplined. That's all it is.
Yeah. You're super, super disciplined when you do it, and you can turn it on and off a lot better than I can. I kind of have to have more of a balanced approach at all times, or I just can't stick with it.
Well,
but you will.
I can't exactly turn it off and on. It's not exactly like that. The way I cut, I'll give a breakdown of my cut. It's not a cut. Okay, so because my body fat percentage is so low, that's the only reason that makes it harder to lose. I lose 5 pounds. Mm-hmm. That's realistically what I lose. Right now, I'm getting back down to where I like to be, because for the past 2 months, this is how long it takes me to gain the weight because of how many calories I burn training. It's taken me 2 months to go from about 135 to 140 is about where I'm at right now. And I like to be, after a workout, between 135 and 148. I mean, sorry, not 148, 135 and 138. And maybe right now, after a meal, I'm 143, 145, at most 145, if that. In the morning, I woke up and was 140 yesterday. That was fresh waking up. But I have been feeling myself get a little bit higher, and I like to stay around the 130, between 135 and 138, because the closer I get to that 135, it's where you were at, where I can literally eat whatever I want, and I know within 2 days, just like a little bit of eating some healthy food, not even like crazy, like cutting all salt and stuff like that, not even doing that, I will make my weight class of 141.6. So with a gi on, because in jiu-jitsu you have to weigh in with the gi, so it's like an extra 3 pounds. So that's why I go down to 138, 135. But I don't cut hard. It's like it takes me 2 weeks to go from about 142 to about the weight I need to be. And all I do is 5 days out of the week, I eat 1,600 calories, between 15 and 1,600 calories, very strict. I do not account for my workout. So if I burn 500 calories,
I never do that.
I don't account for that. I just stick to 1,600 calories. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I'm pretty lean. I eat pretty much what I want to eat on Saturday and Sunday. And especially if I train. If I train, I've learned that it cancels itself out. I also just don't eat, like some people can put away a whole large pizza and dessert and breadsticks and all that by themselves. I can't do that. My stomach's just not big enough. I'd be stuffed by halfway through the pizza. And that's kind of my cut. I do that for 2 weeks, and I'm on point, ready to go. And I'll even, like, man, for pans, that I was at a perfect weight. Like I like to be at a point where the night before I'll do like a little sweat out, like just a little hot bath where I can sweat out a little bit. And what?
I'm just laughing because the last time we traveled for a tournament, I remember Wesley was very upset with me because I did not verify that our hotel room was going to have a tub for that exact reason, because he likes to a sauna is ideal, but if you don't have that, at least like a hot bath so he can sweat out. And
again, sweat out is a hard word. Okay?
I understand.
I like to, be at a place where I can pretty much eat what I want for dinner that night. Maybe a little, somewhat light, but somewhat eat what I want. And then sweat out a pound of water. That's nothing. But I like to do that in a real hot bath, and I'm good to go. And then whenever I weigh in at the mat, I take a drink. And really, I'm aiming to be lower than I need to be in the morning, so that I can drink more and eat, because I'm a little bit hungry, and I don't have to like wake up in the morning and be like, I'm so hungry I can't even eat anything. But yes, I was very annoyed because that was 100% my plan. And then I was like, oh crap, I need to make sure I get these like 1 or 2 pounds of water weight off. And it's like the night before we're about to fight.
Like researching local gyms in the area that might have a sauna that would open up early in the morning.
And some of y'all are probably
get a
like,
guest pass.
So like a pound or 2, you can pee that out. But I'm like, I get like anxious about my weight. I want to make sure like I'm on point. I want to have a lot of like things I'm worried about. I want to be able to focus 100% on the fight.
Well, you have a system. Like that's what you do. And I threw a wrench in your plan, and my bad. And apparently the shower did not get hot enough to reach his sweating needs.
But I still made weight and was like a pound and a half underweight. Exactly. And that's exactly my point, is I stress about things more than I need to sometimes, but it's just because I want to be 100% locked in on my fight, especially when it was pans, But so yeah, that's kind of my cut, and it's not crazy. I like I said, 135, 138 is ideal. Right now I'm about 141, 140. Yeah. So, but kind of like recap some of the guests, kind of like moving on past the cutting and stuff. We talked with Tracy. That was our first guest. Then we talked with Roberto. That was guest number 2. And a little behind the scenes that y'all don't realize, the next podcast we're doing, that actually, I've done that one. This will be the 3rd time I've done that podcast with them.
Oh my gosh, yes.
For various reasons. One was a technical reason. One was a decision on just internally how we're doing the podcast. And then that led us to the 3rd time. But the 3rd time's the charm, and that's what y'all get.
That's true. That's what they say. And it was good.
That'll be good. And I mean, nothing crazy as far as a recap goes, but I just, it was really cool. We talked, what are some of the things that you enjoy talking about with Tracy?
I love talking with Tracy in general. She's just one of my favorite humans. And it was just fun hearing about like how she got started in jiu-jitsu, and kind of what that's like as a woman and how, women came into the sport and what that was like. Heard some fun inside joke kind of stories that not everybody at the gym has known, but now anybody in the world can know if they go listen to that episode. So it was just fun sitting and talking with her, sharing a couple of hot takes and stuff like that. And then Roberto, his was just fascinating. For those of you who don't know Roberto, he can look, in fact, oh my goodness, I told Roberto this after my first day teaching kids classes, right? So Roberto just had a big surgery, and so he's been out of the gym for a couple of weeks, and Monday was his first day coming back into the gym, not to train or anything, but just to like show his face and kind of see what's been going on, say hi to everyone. And he came in during one of the kids' classes, and that, I think it may have been the same little girl who told me I had a sweaty neck, but they saw him walk in, and Roberto is just like, Weslee said it on the podcast that rolling with Roberto is like rolling with a boulder, and they saw him.
He looks like a boulder,
and he looks like he looks built, like he feels stacked like a boulder. Yeah. So he walks in, and these little girls look at me, and they're like, "Look, it's that guy! It's that guy!"
And these girls are brand new, first week maybe.
And I don't even know. It was like they'd heard of this mystical creature that sometime came into the gym, but they'd never seen him before, and everybody was whispering about it. It was just cracking me up. But I feel like if you don't know him, that's kind of the vibe that you get. He just can look kind of intimidating, and I think he's probably more naturally introverted. But if you get him talking, his story is just fascinating, and he's the nicest guy. And so
really funny. Like that was the sense of humor had me cracking up, and everyone I talked to, they were sending me comments like telling me how much they were laughing at certain clips. And I think I've gotten to know Roberto, and I think that's one thing that actually surprised me about the podcast was how he cracks me up just in general whenever we're talking, like he has. But on the podcast, he had me rolling.
Yes, it's just fascinating to hear his whole story. I mean, from his early life in Peru and how he came to the States, and had so much to say about his time training under Carlos Machado. It's just such a cool relationship that they have in general. So it was really fun to just kind of peel back the curtain on the mystical man who owns and runs our gym. That I think it's just not everybody probably feels like they know him or his story that well. So it was really, really cool to just hear not only his whole story, but just his philosophy and his thoughts behind training and self-care, taking care of yourself and your body and things like that. So it was really interesting.
It was cool to hear him talk about the different martial arts that he's gotten black belts in and done for so long, which makes me think of, all right, right now Lennox is showing a lot of passion and desire to box, like out of nowhere.
Oh my goodness, so random.
They've been putting gloves on. It's been around them since they literally were born. I've been boxing since before they were born,
videos of them literally in diapers. Yep. Both of the girls in diapers, with boxing, and Dax, all three of them in diapers with boxing gloves on, like sparring in the living room. And Wesley's like, hit her in the face.
That's my girl. That's my girl.
Yeah, so they've been doing that stuff for a long time, and they've always, Maddox boxed fairly consistently.
She was
in the
actually
gym
going to
for
compete,
a while.
And then she went from level 3 to level 4, and that changed everything. And and gymnastics, and that it just took all her time away to train, because we were going in boxing. You travel a lot to different gyms for sparring and stuff like that. So I just got rid of all that time. We didn't have anymore. And the gym's like 35 minutes away. Yeah. And then you got to drive back. So it just made
that
it
was
impossible.
the big plan. It was for her to fight Golden Gloves when she turned 8, because that's how old you have to be to fight Golden Gloves. So that was
she was
the
doing
plan.
good. She was sparring with boys, and
She was
getting
doing
boys
great.
and
We have
beating them up.
videos of that. But gymnastics has always been her number one sport, and we had no idea what we were getting into when we put her in it when she was 3, but we quickly learned that it's one of those sports where it's all or nothing. And so if that's your sport, you give 100% to it, and maybe you can fit other stuff in, but if anything else conflicts, like gymnastics is number one. And so unfortunately, that she kind of had to make a call at some point and put her focus on gymnastics. Goes, but Lennox out of nowhere has been wanting to do boxing more lately. In fact, I mean, even now it's summertime, so Maddox is still training. There's no time off in gymnastics, so she's still up at the gym training about 5 hours Monday through Friday. But when she's gone, Lennox and Dax will go get their gloves and run up here and be sparring up here. And
we drill jiu-jitsu, or we do some type of training upstairs pretty much every day before we go to jiu-jitsu class, where they go to their class. I'm showing them something or teaching them something. Some days they want to, some days they don't want to. But they're always thankful for it afterwards. You see it on the mat. But lately, like the last week or two, Lennox is like begging me, can we do boxing instead of jiu-jitsu?
Which is so funny that, again, I mean, you've always said this, though, that, if they want to do something, like they'll find it on their own. Now, you've always been there to encourage them to try all the sports that you love. Of
course. Ain't no kids of mine going to get beat up.
But at the end of the day, you have always said and known that, like, if they want to do it, it'll find them. So it's interesting. I don't understand how you, as a dad, like, does it not bother you? So, right, like, rewind back when Weslee started boxing, I actually also started boxing right at the same time. I just literally never, like, I've never sparred with anybody. Because I always said, I don't want to get hit in the face. I don't want anybody punching me in the face. I don't want to punch anybody in the face. So I was perfectly content, like, doing the workouts, and they were incredible workouts. But I didn't want to actually fight anybody. And, then when our kids were born and Wesley's trying to, like, get them to do boxing, I'm like, these are your little girls. Does it not scare you, the idea of them getting in the ring and, like, getting punched in the face? I mean, you've broken your nose, I don't even know how many times. I've lost count at this point. But wasn't the first one at boxing?
Well, it wasn't necessarily because of boxing. It was a work injury. I got hit in the face with it's called 600, but it's a big giant copper wire.
Wesley's an electrician, for anybody. He's a general foreman, and that's what he does.
Well, at the time, I was just a lowly apprentice.
You were a lowly apprentice.
Many moons ago, and that wire, I mean, this, like, it's really heavy, and it had some momentum going as it came out of what it was coming out of, this conduit, and it smacked me right in the nose. Half of it hit my nose, the other half hit my bottom of my lip, and made, like, a perfect half moon bruise on my top lip. I said bottom, I meant my top lip. And it was bleeding all over the place, everything. We went to Concentra or urgent care or whatever, and the line was like a 2-hour line, and it had stopped bleeding at that point. It was sore. I was like, we'll see how it feels tomorrow, and the next day I was like, okay, it's not too bad. So I never went and got it checked out. Classic me. I never get injuries checked out usually. But so then I gave it like 2 weeks off, and then I went and sparred. And I took like a jab, or maybe I don't remember maybe it was a right hand to the nose, but it was right off the bat, and it cracked my nose, and it was too easy. I've been hit just like that too many times.
You never bled.
I never had bloody noses in boxing, and I think I got out of the ring then. I don't remember what happened, but I took another week off. I didn't think it was broke. I didn't know what had happened. But then I sparred again. It was like a week or two later with a buddy of mine, Tommy. And man, that was the first time we sparred too. He hit me with a jab, and my nose was so sensitive. We just kept sparring through it. My nose bled like a faucet. Like, that whole ring was so bloody when we were done. And it was just because of that one jab. And we just kept going. And I mean, I did well in the sparring. But my nose did not tell that story. I took my headgear off, and the blood had, like, dried on my face. and it looked just like smeared all the way across my face, blood everywhere. And that we did that for, it was a four rounds is what we did. And yeah, that was the first time. And then I took a long time off from that. But once it healed, again, for years, my nose didn't bleed. I was never a bleeder when it came to nosebleeds. Some guys, you flick their nose and they gush blood. That's just how it is. But man, I was always blessed with a nose that never bled. Then fast forward to judo and jiu-jitsu, and we were doing, my cousins say we were doing jiu-jitsu. I thought we were doing judo.
So I was right.
I don't know. They say...
We talked about this not too long ago, and I was like, you were definitely doing jiu-jitsu. And he was like, no, I was doing judo.
Well, what he broke my nose with was a judo throw, so that's all that matters.
Correct.
So he went to do a sumogeshi, which the short of that, what that is, like, he's grabbing the back of my collar, he's falling backwards to his back, and he's going to use his inside of his foot behind my leg to throw me over his head. Well, I knew it was coming. I tried to defend it by pulling back real hard. Well, he's really strong, had all his backward momentum going, drug my nose by grabbing my collar right into his knee, and my nose snapped like a pretzel. My cousin said it's like a pencil breaking, and my nose was so flat, I looked like Lord Voldemort.
It did. It was really, we have pictures of his Lord Voldemort nose.
Yeah, and so
it was bad.
I had to get surgery, which sucks too, because I was just about to go back to the gym, boxing gym, because I've been doing a lot of jiu-jitsu and wasn't training as much, and really start sparring again. I'd already talked to my coach. We're gonna start working, whatever. That stopped again for a while, and had to get surgery on my nose. That took a long time. Then fast forward like another year, just recently, probably 2 months ago, maybe not even that. I was at a friend's gym, and we were doing some CLA games. And just, what happens in training happens in training. Sometimes you just get hurt. My buddy made a little mistake, and it just caused me a nose break. His collarbone essentially smashed right into my nose and broke it. Again, I knew it was broke immediately. I had a big old knot on the side of it. I went to the doctor, and he essentially said, don't even mess with fixing your nose right now, because it's like the bottom. Yeah, you're just gonna break it again. Right now, your nose is like the bottom of a chip bag. It's like if you hit it again, it's gonna break. So you're just gonna keep getting surgeries. So just wait till you're done fighting, and then we'll fix it at the very end. Put a bridge in it and all that stuff. So
and that's why Weslee's face looks the way that it does.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I've only gotten prettier the more I get smashed in the face.
Yeah.
Womp womp. Not really. So. But yeah, so a lot of what people tell me a lot of times is like, oh, do you fight? You like a boxer? You MMA? And I'm thinking they're going to say, because my ears, like, yeah, I can tell your face. I'm like, dang, okay. Man, I thought it was the ears.
I thought I looked all okay.
Appreciate it. All right, why don't you sit a little closer to my face? Kind of thing.
That's hilarious.
But no, yeah, so I've had a few nose breaks. And again, I'm supposed to be, Lennox is begging me to go back to the boxing gym, because she tells me after jiu-jitsu, Daddy, can you take me to a real boxing gym? Because we just box upstairs in the game room, and she's like, Daddy, I want to go to a real boxing gym, a real one. So she doesn't even know this yet, but I've already talked to my coach, and I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I told, which my coach is my second cousin, and another coach there, also Kendrick. But I texted Sheldon. I was like, hey, Lennox is dying to come back in the gym, and I want to get back too. And he's like, yeah, come on by. So soon, very soon, maybe next week.
She'll love that. Does that not?
I'm going to surprise her.
Not make you nervous? I mean, just the idea of her
getting hit. Yeah, I think that's a
hit. Ugh,
that's a little bit of
my little heart.
I think that's a fallacy. It's like, it's not really, at that young age, like, they're not hitting very hard.
That's true.
They're hitting with pillows also, right? So they're just not
really
hitting
big gloves, yeah.
Yeah, they're not hitting very, very hard yet, so it's not enough to like hurt them, and they have headgear on. If anything, it's getting them used to having the pressure of the barrage in their face, because that's overwhelming. It's just like jiu-jitsu, like you're gonna get all this stuff thrown at you. You're gonna lose like every day, especially as a white belt. And same thing in boxing. When you first start, like especially sparring, you're going to take some punches, but better for them to start now than when they're 20, 18. I started when I was like 21, 20, and hurts a lot more getting hit at that age, even if you don't know how to throw a punch.
Yeah.
But they're getting to the age now, 10, 11, 12. Kids who have been boxing are going to know how to punch. Like, they're going to know how to throw a proper punch. So right now, her and Maddox spar each other. It's not very hard. I mean, they hit each other hard as they can.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's going to probably be like if they go with someone who's been boxing since they were 7 or 8. But they still have the jump on everybody. Starting 10 years old, boxing is still really young. It's not as young as it can be. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, I'm going to let her keep chasing it and feed that fire because...
so weird how she is like my clone, and yet you wouldn't have caught me dead in any sort of combat sport gym of any type at her age. So it's fascinating. She's got that fiery fighter spirit.
As long as she never turns into like an MMA striker.
See, okay, so I was going to ask you, because she said a real boxing gym, which to me is just another indicator of your influence on her, that she would call something a real boxing gym, because I know that that's something you've always talked about as kind of what constitutes a real boxing gym. And then another thing that we haven't talked about as much, just because jiu-jitsu is newer in our lives than boxing was at the time, the difference between like a good boxing gym and, you know, a fitness kind of boxing gym that's not really teaching you to box in the ring. But then also you bring in MMA and striking and that kind of thing, which I know you've said are very different. And that's as much as I know, is that you've said they're different. But like, why? What is actually so different about them, and which do you prefer for which? I mean, I know you're going to say quote unquote a real boxing gym, but
well, first let's define what I consider a real boxing gym. Okay, so I would say there's an exception to the rule. I would say typically the rule would be like, you're not going to find boxing gyms in a really nice, really expensive area, because, you know, people who are gritty and got that fight in them, the dog in them, they don't come from like a spoon in their mouth, typically. I mean, not saying, again, there's exceptions to the rule, but people who want to make it into something, who have nothing, that's the dream of boxing. It's to make it out fighting where they're probably already doing in their schools, in the streets, or maybe their family members trying to get them out of trouble by putting them in the boxing gym. You know, they do that and they come out of a rougher environment. You know, they're not out here going to really nice schools and living a really nice luxury life, and then they also want to go get punched in the face. Like, people don't want to usually get punched in the face for fun. It
draws a different demographic or a different type of person who's going to want to get in there and say, I want to hit people and get hit in the face.
There's different people out there, you know, who have that grit in them, and they don't have to be brought up in like a rough environment, for sure. But if I walk into a boxing gym and it looks like the Ritz, like either it's been funded by like some world champion, really, and maybe it's a really good gym, maybe. But I'm gonna look to see who the coach is. But a lot of times, like, you're gonna find there's no AC. The bags have been around since it's a 25-year-old gym, and the bags are 25, 26-year-olds they got from another gym, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, not every time.
It's gonna look like a hole in the wall kind of situation.
Sometimes, you know, there's exceptions. I've been to some really, really nice gyms that are like beautiful. And those are awesome to be at too. But they're not as common, you know? It's more common to see, you know, you got duct tape around the bag because the bag's falling apart, or you have jump ropes that have been falling apart for 10 years. But, you know, that's what I like about a lot of the boxing coaches too. You know, if you get the good ones, they care about the craft. You know, I'm not out here just trying to make the most money. I care about the craft of boxing, keeping the art alive and passing down my knowledge. You know, and that's my coach Sheldon, you know, Kendrick and Sheldon. And Sheldon's been teaching me for a long, long time, and it's important to him. I don't think he'd have to make a dime in order to teach like he does. He wants to see his pro fighters be successful, and he wants to give them the tools that he can and to do so. But yeah, that's what I constitute like a good boxing gym, you know, and if they have accolades, like obviously, like Have they won national titles? Do they travel for competitions a lot? Is there just a row of really nice, perfect bags up and that's it in the whole entire gym? That's probably just a fitness boxing gym.
Yeah.
That's not a real boxing gym. If there's not speed bags, double end bags, heavy bags of different sizes, and a ring in there, and jump rope, then it's probably not a real boxing gym. Just bags in a row, not going to cut it. That's just you're just there to do fitness.
That's very common in a fitness. And you
there's
walk
nothing
in
wrong
and
with
it's like
that,
a big mat with a bunch. It's good. I mean, again, I've said it before that when I started boxing, that very first day that you and I both went, that the following day, I've never been more sore in my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, every centimeter of my back and arms. I'm like, I didn't realize I had so many muscles back. I mean, and I couldn't move for like over a week. So the workout is amazing, but there's a difference between, like me, I'm just going in and I want to get a good workout, and somebody who says, I actually want to learn to box. If you're going to like a fitness boxing type gym or class, like don't do that and then think you're going to get in the ring and do well.
Yeah, there's not many sports that require what boxing requires from the body, from start to finish on the workouts, like a 2-hour long workout. If you're doing everything that's on, like a lot of gyms have a board, like a whiteboard that has all the stuff that you're to do.
Like a standard workout that you should do.
Right, which includes shadow box the first 3 rounds, jump rope the first 3 rounds, and then it's just a mix of a bunch of different stuff depending on. Some people will shadow box for 6 rounds right out the gate, and it's a whole 2 hours long, a warm up run of 3 miles just to start your day. Then you got bag work, double end bag work. Then you got your mitt work for, depending on how long you want to do it for, like 6 rounds, maybe longer than that. Depends on how far along you are in your journey. Then you got sparring, like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays typically. And again, sparring and boxing is all out. There's not a lot of technical sparring. There is some technical sparring, but a lot of guys don't want to do it. They want to go full out. That's what they're there for. And then you got your cool down on the speed bag, and then you got more bag work after you spar typically. So then you would do your speed bag work after that. So it's a long workout. Then you have your strength and conditioning. That's not even counting the strength and conditioning.
Yeah, because you would run all the time.
Yeah, that's where my love of running came from boxing. But sadly, I can't really run anymore now because of my knee. But
got old man knees.
Yeah, I got jiu-jitsu knees is what I got. But yeah, so and then like to kind of go back to your original question, the difference that I see between like MMA and boxing is, and I think maybe I'm the only one, I don't think I am, but like boxers kind of get offended when you refer to the art of boxing as striking. Because if you want to call what a lot of MMA fighters do striking, that's fine, because that is what they're doing. They're doing striking. It's not boxing. It's totally different. The striking, a lot of times it looks more like a street fight than it does correct form and technique.
Yeah.
Now I may ruffle some feathers with that, but in boxing, it's you're focusing 100% of your attention on the art of throwing your hands. So there are a lot more details you're going to learn than if you spread out your learning over 4 different martial arts, and then you never made boxing your main martial art. You're going to have a lot of like you're gonna be lacking a lot in your technique when it comes to throwing your hands. So
no, it makes sense. And as you're talking, I'm just sitting here thinking like that. When you talk striking in MMA, it's punching, right? But boxing is in and of itself an entire art form, and that's something you've been big on since you fell in love with it, is the art of it, the technique, and not just that, the footwork and the head work, and just everything that goes into making a great boxer. And while I obviously have not been to any sort of MMA class, I feel like it would have to dumb some of that down a little bit, when you're not focusing on just the art of boxing in a ring.
And there's obviously going to be some differences because there's things you have to worry about in MMA that you don't have to worry about in boxing, getting
Yeah.
kicked, taking flying knees, doing takedowns.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about proper footwork, proper catching punches, slipping punches correctly, knowing how to use your hips and shoulders to throw your punches and not throwing arm punches.
Yeah.
Creating angles. Like people, it's so underrated. People who don't know boxing is creating angles, like little half steps, a dip to the left, dip to the right, just to create an angle so that you're not on your center line or you're off your opponent's center line, whatever. And that's the kind of nuances that I think sometimes MMA miss, because they don't focus on boxing so much, which, you're an MMA fighter, you can't just focus on one. You usually have a background in something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I don't like when people call boxing striking, or they say, I don't know, that bugs me. Because it's not. It's like it's actual boxing. It's
its
different
own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. MMA
Like
gyms.
striking feels like one component of a larger thing, whereas boxing is the larger thing. It is a whole art in and of itself versus just taking one little component out of something and saying, oh, we're going to work striking today, or we're going to work this, or we're going to work that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
One difference I see too, yeah, it definitely makes sense for sure. But a difference that I also see, that I've seen, I go cross train at jiu-jitsu gyms who are doing MMA all the time. This is something I've never seen in a boxing gym. I don't think you'll see. Maybe something new. Maybe I think I've seen it maybe in some like Russian schools or like those countries over there, like Ukraine and stuff like that. They may do. Cubans do this a lot, where they do like touch boxing, where they're like touching each other. Or they have their gloves on, but they're not full contact, like trying to kill each other sparring.
Oh.
It's like an
Flow boxing.
Well, it's an eco game. It's like an eco game essentially. They're not like with the intention, like thinking they're going to get the same result of sparring. It's like an ecological game, right? Like a CLA game. But typically, when I go to a jiu-jitsu gym and I see them doing MMA, I see 6 different guys, or whatever, however many people, pairs of people, all in their shin guards. They got their gloves on. They don't usually use headgear, and that's because they don't full contact spar. They don't like go all out. They're touching, they're giving some force, but not enough to like do anything. And I understand that with kicks, you'll knock somebody out with a kick, but you also get people getting knocked out in sparring all the time in boxing, and we full contact spar. There's a lot of people that are against that, but people who haven't been in boxing and they don't really know like what you're putting on the line. If you don't full contact spar, this other person they're getting better than you. They're trying to make legitimate money at this and become an undefeated professional fighter who's on TV making money. That's the goal. And so you feel like you're a step behind if you know everybody else is doing it and you're not. So I don't really ever see or hear of MMA fighters. I know they do, but typically I feel like you don't see it. They don't full contact spar where they're like trying in a ring and sparring. It's usually like an open mat area.
Yeah.
And they're flowing with each other.
Yeah.
And boxing, how it works is like, if you're lucky enough to have some guys in your gym that are your size, well then, or close to your size, then you spar with those guys. You spar with each other. The bell rings. You both walk over to your coach, and he gives tips on what you need. Hey, you're doing this. You need to fix this. Do that. Do this. Do that. And they corner you. But a lot of the times, what happens is you have coaches will talk with each other, and they'll say, "Hey, I got a fighter, pro fighter, 141. You have anybody around his weight class? Yeah, I got an amateur. He's getting ready for a fight coming up. The Gold Gloves. He'd love to work with you. Can you meet up with us, or can we go over to your gym? Whatever." And so we'll go back and forth to different gyms. Sometimes it's a whole team. Sometimes just me and the coach. And coach will be in my corner, give me water when I need it, pop my mouthpiece in for me. We spar depending on what it is. Like I've sparred with pro fighters, help them get ready for fights. Try to do as many rounds as you can. At least I think the max I ever did was like maybe 12 rounds once, but it wasn't the hardest sparring in the world. But yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like, and you're full on sparring. I mean, that's the thing about boxing. It's like dog eat dog. Kill or be killed. You're trying to knock the other person out, and if you do, even if it's your teammate, like unless it's your buddy, a lot of the times the egos in there are like they feel good. Now they feel even better for their fight.
Yeah.
They're stopping people. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't know. Maybe I speak for myself. I don't want to physically hurt people when I'm in there and like
Sure.
hurt them. But you're like, man, I just stopped this guy with a body shot. Like my stuff's coming together. I dropped him to a knee I caught him right on the chin. And this is the mentality that you get, because you want to be good at your craft, and that's part of what comes with it. So, but
well, yeah, and as scary as it can be to live spar at that level, I mean, how much scarier would it be to not live spar at that level and then get in the ring for a first time? Boxing or MMA, either one, regardless of what, that would be absolutely terrifying. And I'm only basing that off of, number one, not wanting to get kicked in the face, obviously, or punched in the face, but two, jiu-jitsu, I can't imagine just like drilling or flow rolling with people and then going into a tournament. I mean, the intensity between just actually full out rolling with somebody and fighting them in a tournament is already so different, even though theoretically those two levels should be the same, but they're not.
No, they're not at all.
And so I can't imagine.
Yeah, boxing,
you would have to go all out sparring, or I mean, you're just in for a rude awakening the second you get in the ring, Yeah. And on top of that, just the sheer, your cardio, your cardio has to be so high in boxing.
There's not a lot of lulls in boxing where there's a lot of rest time. You know what I mean? Especially if it's like two pressure fighters or something like that. But I have debates with people. I have friends that are judokas, wrestlers, and I talk with them about what I think is the harder sport, and they're like, "Oh, wrestling's way harder. It's way harder. Judo's harder." I'm like, okay, now imagine the sports you're doing, and how hard they are. Now imagine the worst moment you ever had, and now start getting punched in the face while you're doing it. That's boxing. It's going to take you deep in a place that is really hard, to pull that grit out of. You got to dig deep whenever you're getting your face beat in, and you really just want to throw the towel in. It's not like jiu-jitsu. Okay, you got me, I can tap, let's restart.
Yeah.
No, that does not happen in boxing.
Yeah.
You don't ever
You don't quit.
Yeah, no, unless you're you got rocked and you have to take a knee. That's it. When you're getting bombarded,
and even then, but typically people don't say, "Oh, I'm out."
No.
Somebody has to stop the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not you don't, like you said, you don't tap and say, "Oh, I think I've had enough. Oop, that one was a doozy. I think I'm out." You keep going until a ref says it's not safe for you to continue.
Even or sparring. I mean, that happens in sparring too. You get caught with a body shot. The last thing you want to do, you have a professional fighter coming to your gym because he heard that you're decent work and he just caught you with a body shot. You're gonna hit a knee and you're gonna say, "Nah, I think I'm done."
Yeah.
Well, goodbye to the good work you've been getting. You're not gonna get that no more. And then it's just embarrassing. You got your whole team watching you.
Yeah.
I mean, I sparred guys that come from other states that came down because they were in town for Golden Gloves or whatever fight they were in town for with their coach. And the whole gym is like gym wars. You know what I mean? It's like dojo storming for boxing, where they're coming in your gym. They got 5 fighters, and they're gonna try to pick every one of them apart. They're gonna make your gym like a bum. And whenever your coach will tell you, "Look, this is our house.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody beat us up in our house."
Yeah.
And you have to really stand on your business whenever people come to your gym and really actually fight. I mean, you're fighting hard as you can every time, but really, it feels like something's on the line whenever you got people coming from a different gym.
Yeah.
So that's just, like I said, the mentality of boxing, and it's a tough sport. You spar, you get headaches. All that stuff is real. CTE.
What is that? What is that?
CTE. It's like the brain damage from, football players get it from getting hit so often. It's just
things that make me nervous for Lennox.
Yeah, no,
she has such a good brain.
Well,
she's so smart.
No, I mean. That's a whole nother topic I won't go into as far as women's boxing. They have to, they do shorter rounds, and they're not championship fights. They're not 12 rounds, they're only 10. And at least most of the women I see in the highest levels of boxing, they don't like that. They want it to be 3-minute rounds, even with the men.
Yeah, I agree with that.
UFC is killing boxing right now. I hate to say it, but when it comes to actual views, and popularity right now, it's taking it because it's exciting to watch. By doing that with the women's boxing, it makes it less exciting. And I hate to say it, but if the women want it and they want it to be equal, it should be equal. And Same with the pay, like so
Yeah.
I guess
I agree with that.
when it comes to pay, the only thing that's different, even the men, you can be a great fighter, and if nobody wants to watch you,
Yeah.
and nobody's watching you, you're not going to get paid. Like you have to have people watch your fights.
And you've talked about this before, and I know you hate it because you love boxing, but because boxing is such an art form, I know that it is not as popular to the casual viewer because sometimes it doesn't look as exciting. And a fight that you find really exciting may not be exciting to other people. They'd be like, oh, that was such a boring fight to watch. Whereas you were very fascinated by it because of the technique that was used, and just can enjoy and appreciate the art of what's actually happening in the ring. But the casual viewer doesn't know what they're watching anyway. So they're just wanting to watch people get kicked and knocked out and faces smashed in, and oh my goodness, look at their bloody eye. And, and UFC delivers on that in a way that boxing typically just doesn't for the casual viewer who doesn't know what they're watching.
I'll take offense to that, but
what?
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but it's, I mean, not so far to say that it doesn't typically. I mean, there's a lot of really exciting fights. There's also boring fights in UFC, but boxing there's just some things about boxing. It's not necessarily that there's not exciting fights. There's lots of exciting fights. The things that I have problems with in boxing, okay, and I'm telling you, if they just would fix this, it would help a lot. Okay, and this is the professional level. There's other things I would do to help amateur boxing that I think would seriously grow the popularity of it. But one, they stop fights too early. 90% of the time, these fights, it's like, why did you stop that? What happened to the days when you let these guys fight? I'm not saying let the guy get brain damage. There's a difference. But you watch a UFC, MMA, and they're over here beating the snot out of them on the ground, and they come back and win the fight. And then you stumble the guy in boxing. I've literally seen guys just get stumbled, and they stop the fight. I'm like, what are we doing right here? This is a championship fight. You should let him fight. The other problem is robberies. Like there is something that is going on with some of these decisions. I mean, it is just ridiculous. I could go into a whole bunch of other things that I think that could be, I wouldn't say a whole bunch of other things, but some things, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with the excitement of the fights. To me, it's more about some of the early stoppages, the bad calls,
that I can see,
stuff like that. That kills. Like, who wants to watch their favorite fighter? That's what killed me about Lomachenko. There's a fight that I swear he was up on. Everybody else did. There's so many people thought he won that fight, and they gave it to someone else. And it just kills you when it's your favorite fider. They're getting the short end of the deal, the stick, and it just makes you want to not watch anymore. And that happens 15 times.
Yeah.
To all your different favorite fighters. And then when it comes to the amateurs, one thing that jiu-jitsu is doing that really helps jiu-jitsu, it's inclusive to all ages. Where boxing is like, well, you've kind of met your end at you're like 30 years old. Oh, you like boxing? You want to get into it? Well, you gotta wait till the masters division. You know what I mean? And in boxing, masters, I don't remember, but I think it's like late 40s. I think I could be wrong. Don't quote me on it, but I want to say it's like mid 40s to late 40s, maybe something like that. But in jiu-jitsu, it's like masters start at 30, so you're going against people your same age. You don't have many 30-year-olds that are starting boxing at that age. Why not make a masters division for 30-year-olds?
Yeah.
Like that makes more sense. It would bring in more people willing to fight. Like, I'm a dad who just started training. I'm been training for a year. Let me try to box someone that's my age, and you do it like jiu-jitsu does, where we have masters divisions that start at 30 years old, right? So
how many 30-year-old dads you think would actually do that, take advantage of that?
I think there's a ton of guys that are in the boxing gym, and that they see these young guys and like, oh man, I couldn't do that, like, or they get intimidated and they're afraid to spar or whatever. But if they did something to promote a masters division and let people know like there's a masters division, maybe like smoker tournaments or maybe even a Golden Gloves or something like that, the older guys would start seeing it and they'd be like, yeah, I want to try this out. Like, there's older guys that come in and try all the time, and I think that they get beat up in sparring by someone who's younger, and they realize there's no masters division, and you're 30 years old fighting the 18-year-old, who's been boxing since he was 7 years old. that's a hard hill to climb. You know what I mean? So, if you want to make boxing popular, again, there's some changes that have to be made. You got to catch up with the times. I mean, for crying out loud, in the amateurs, you had to shave your beard for years and years and years.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
It wasn't until after that I stopped boxing or competing in boxing that they let you have your beard.
Yep.
That's insane. And that's like some super old school rule. I never understood it. It's like, I've heard two different things. One, it can cushion the punches. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That is dumb.
That does not help you at all. Been had a full beard. I promise you, did not help me at all.
You had a big old beard at one point.
They also just say it looks cleaner. We're a clean looking sport. It's like they're trying to like make the sport look extra clean. It's still a strike. It's like
you're getting in there and just hitting people in the face, but we want to look clean while we do it.
Or that it causes cuts. You can like scratch your face. I don't know. I never agree with any of that. I think it's silly. There's just some
and clearly things. All of it, whatever excuses there were, is all a bunch of bull because that's not a rule anymore. So
yeah, exactly. But look how long boxing's been around forever, and they just now got rid of that rule.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. I feel like when you think of martial arts, you think of like rich tradition and history and stuff like that. But as far as jiu-jitsu versus boxing, I mean, I think boxing has been around longer, right?
I mean, it's over hundreds of years back. It goes of all these records back whenever they didn't have rounds for boxing.
Boxing's it ended been around longer since ancient times. Thank you to Google AI. Boxing has been practiced since the 3rd millennium BC in Mesopotamia and ancient Greece.
I mean, it makes sense that it's been around longer because
jiu-jitsu's only been around since the 1920s.
You don't got to be very smart to start throwing your clenched fists at people, and call that boxing. Now, when it comes to judo and wrestling, it takes some learning to throw people around correctly. You know what I mean?
So it's just interesting to me that, and there are other martial arts that have been around a lot longer, but when you think of like the mold of tradition and discipline and whatever, but in reality, I hadn't really thought of it that way. But boxing kind of has some old school tradition things that they haven't quite overcome to bring it into a new era of popularity for people.
Yeah, I wish they would. Because it's a fun sport, especially if you learn it. What all is happening in there. It's like jiu-jitsu. It's really hard for people to watch gi jiu-jitsu because they don't know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
It looks like two people sitting or one person's trying to get past the other person's legs. I don't get this.
Yep.
I mean, Mike Sheldon told me whenever he thought I was doing karate, but whenever I went after training for like a year, he was like, "You still doing that karate?" I'm like, "It's jiu-jitsu," and like they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
Like that means absolutely nothing to them. But there's a massive difference. So. But that's kind of my take on the long-winded version of where I stand with MMA and boxing and different gyms and their differences. So, but that's I mean, I could go into a whole nother podcast strictly on boxing. I could talk about boxing forever. I mean, it's probably my favorite sport that I've ever done. But and that's saying a lot because I have a couple favorites, that are way up there. But
anybody who knows how obsessed Weslee is with jiu-jitsu
was with skating. I skated for years and years and years. But anyways, like we got the next thing coming up. It's a little ways out, which is Master Worlds that we're preparing for, and we're super excited for that. Not really quite sure how we're gonna pay for it. Praying to God that we're putting that 100% in His hands because
sports are expensive, y'all.
We got to get out to Vegas, and this is on Bailey's birthday.
Yeah, literally on my birthday is when we're gonna be.
And I'm dying to get some IBJJFs in before then, so I can get my seating up. And we just don't have the money to get to different states. Which brings up the whole reason why I'm trying to get to different states is that we can't get opponents. I don't know why our weight classes are a struggle. Even though she went down 2 weight classes, you can't find.
I can't find any. I feel like well, it was just going to blue. It's like I don't know if so many people don't go from white to blue, but like I did not have a problem finding people to fight at white, and that was at any tournament because we've talked about this. I would just sign up for tournaments. So any local tournaments, Nagas, AGFs, World Leagues. I would just sign up, and I could just trying to get as much competing experience as I could. And then I got promoted. And since I've been at Blue, I mean, it is a challenge. I've signed up for so many tournaments that I've had to pull out of because there just wasn't anybody for me to fight. And yeah, that's it. I mean, from under 163 all the way up to the open weight class divisions, and it doesn't seem to matter what weight class. I can't find people. It's so frustrating. And Wesley's teeny tiny, so he can't find anyone.
I'll get out of here. I'm not teeny tiny. I'm
baby, teeny tiny.
Stacked. Nothing but muscle over here.
He's a straight boulder.
Yeah. Not helping me at all. But I've struggled to get opponents too, just because guys who hit their 30s are not always out of shape, but they have been eating what they want, Their dads who...
You're at a lower weight class. If you were up one
take
weight
care
class,
of myself very, very well.
Yeah.
And yeah, could I eat what I want and get crazy for the next year and make it up to 154 and fight the next weight class? Yeah, but I don't want to be lifting, and I don't like to be stuffing my face full because I just don't like the way I feel when I eat like that. And I also like to be at the top of my weight class. Strategically, that makes the most sense. If I go and win a world title at my belt, at my weight, and I do really well, maybe the next goal would be go up a weight class and try to do it at a different weight class.
Yeah.
That would be cool. But I ain't done nothing like that yet. And I don't have a problem being at 141. Mm-hmm. And then it also feels even better whenever people who are a lot bigger than me and I beat them and I'm, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds smaller than them.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find opponents. That's the problem. And unless I go to the adult division, which I have done. I fought in the adult division. Knock on wood. I've won all my tournaments that I've done the adult division in. And I'll do more adult divisions for sure. Mm-hmm. But I try to stick to my age if I can. But yeah, IBJJF, they have guys in my division, but it's like you got to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, or you got to go to New York, and some of these people, I don't know how they do it. They're out here traveling like crazy to get to all these tournaments. I'm like, what do y'all do to be making money to be able to travel? Plus, y'all got kids.
Yeah, or like some of the, that's our big thing. It's not just us; it's kids.
Yeah, too, I think some of the parents that travel, they only have but this isn't everybody. I know there's some people that do it with more than one kid, but having one kid is a lot easier to travel and pay for it than taking 3 to kids' pans.
Yeah. And that's the
I'm
thing,
dying to take the girls to kids' pans, but we just simply cannot afford it. It's just so expensive. It's
like we're not just trying to travel and find tournaments for us. In fact, if anything, it usually goes the other way first. We're trying to give the kids opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for them to go fight at Pans, I mean, that's 5 people who now have to fly somewhere and accommodations plus the cost to enter, which are so expensive for IBJJF. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, not to mention you don't have a full-time job right now, so it's just...
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. It's, unfortunately, sports are just extremely expensive, so, but it's part of it. Lots of prayer. I'm trying to navigate that because you want to give your kids the best opportunities that you possibly can.
Yeah, we've always
That's really
done
what it's
that,
about. I only reason I want to travel right now to different IBJJFs is because Master Worlds is coming up. If Master Worlds wasn't coming up, I wouldn't have near as much of a priority. I'd just do locals, no big deal. But I have a goal that I've set for myself.
Yeah.
Trying to see it through. Also trying to give the kids as much opportunity as they can to compete. So. But yeah, that's that IBJJF is an expensive one. That's why a lot of people don't do it. There's a large group of people who are against IBJJF just because how expensive it is. Yeah, I mean, there's guys who they just can't afford to pay the $169 to sign up for one division.
Yep.
And they want to do gi and no gi, and then it's a single elimination. So you have a 10-man bracket, and you lose your first match, you're out. It's $170 you just spent, and you traveled there. All that stuff, you have to be really confident in yourself. That's why when I went to Pans, there's a lot of weight on my shoulders because it's the second IBJJF I ever did, first IBJJF I ever did outside of my own city, out of Texas and another state, and everybody there is coming to bring the heat. They ain't out there just, this is their backyard. They're traveling to
Everybody's
this. They have
invested
high confidence.
to be able to be there. So, yeah. Yep, I know. It's rough. And you know, us personally, like we always have on top of the jujitsu stuff is Maddox's gymnastics. And if anybody knows anything about gymnastics, it is not a cheap sport.
Yeah, we'll just put it to you this way. We spend more on Maddox's gymnastics for just her than we do the whole family paying full price for jiu-jitsu.
Significantly more.
Yeah, significantly more. It is actually insane.
Yeah.
But now we're at the point.
And that's not including meat fees and
Leos and
yep.
Man, the Leos they're just expensive. It's the sport, you know.
Yep.
But we're at the point now where it's like, if she stays on track, she continues to progress. We truly believe she'll make it to the collegiate level, and you know, and do great things. She's already doing great things. It's tremendous. She just hit level 7, you know, as a 10-year-old, which is really impressive. Level 10 is the collegiate level, guys. In case y'all don't know, like level 10 is what college gymnasts are at. So to be at level 7 at only 10 years old, she's got a long way to go.
She's doing great. Yeah, and we have always said that, and that's one thing that like some people don't understand about us, especially people who don't have kids in sports at the level that that our kids are in. They don't get it, like the investment and the amount of money that we put into that. And I get it. Like outside looking in, I can totally see why some would kind of like really, why on earth would you do that? But we've just always said, you know, that if they love and are passionate about something, and if they're gonna sacrifice their time to do a sport and to be good at it, then we just want to give them every opportunity that we can to be able to do the most with it that they can. And unfortunately, that leaves us in situations sometimes where we're like, how the heck do we make it work? But
yeah, we've always kind of said that, and we'll stick by it.
Yep.
So, but guys, that kind of brings us to the end of the podcast, man. I hope y'all liked it. I hope that y'all are enjoying these podcasts. Please subscribe, share,
follow,
give us y'all's thoughts, guys. Please just tell us what y'all think, man. It really helps us continue doing this. It makes us feel like we're doing something right. Lets us know if we're doing something wrong. If there's any guests that you would love to see, let us know. You know, I've had people ask, what do you look for a podcast guest? I mean, how I've responded is I look for someone that has something different to offer, something that would pique an interest of somebody out there that maybe there's a following of this type of thing they talk about, or something like that, you know, or a high level athlete, or someone that has something to weigh in on. So y'all, please let us know what y'all think. And
questions, topic suggestions, your input, feedback, and support also. Following on social media, leaving us comments wherever you're listening. That would be really, really great. We appreciate your support.
And thank y'all for all the support you've already given. It's been awesome. Roberto's podcast, Tracy's podcast, they've been getting a lot of views, especially the reels. The reels have been getting a lot of views. So I'm just, I'm thrilled about that. And listen to the podcast, guys. Listen to it all the way through. To the people who have stuck around and listened this far to the end of this one, thank y'all. And to all the professors, all the coaches out there that have been showing so much love to our kids, from our gym to other gyms. Y'all know who y'all are. We appreciate y'all, love y'all, and that's a wrap, guys. Thank y'all. I'm Weslee.
I am Bailey.
And that's Weslee Weighs In. Thank y'all.